Hey, and welcome back to Kings of Influence, the only podcast where Lloyd and I talk about internet outrage and anything else we really want to talk about. I am half of your hosting team, not Epic Lloyd.
That's right, and I'm the other half, not Ray William Johnson, and we are here every Wednesday at noon Pacific time on youtube.com/Kings of Influence, so thanks for joining us.
Smash that subscribe button if you haven't already, and if you have, smash that like button.
Smash the like button.
Smash it!
And that little bell, too, like you have to sort of Quasimodo style smash that bell so that when we upload, you'll get a little notification.
You gotta subscribe to the subscribe.
Yeah.
Which is insane. But
it's a new thing.
That's 2018. Well, this country's going to hell.
It's going to hell in a sub button.
That is right. Speaking of our country going to hell, our president has lost his damn mind.
Yeah.
What is happening? You know, I try.
Every time I think I'm out, he pulls me back in.
Every single time I try to remain an objective observer. Actually, I don't. I'm a guy with an opinion. I never try to remain objective. See these comments sometimes and they're like, you're just biased. Yeah, no shit. The show is about our opinion. Yeah. So the show is going to be biased.
Yeah.
But what I do try to do is I don't try to look at things from a left or right point of view. I actually consider myself pretty moderate, pretty reasonable on most issues.
Yeah, I'm with you on that for sure.
And every now and then, and so when I look at some of the stuff we talk about, and I know that we're in a hyper politicized environment, I look at these topics and I consider my argument, and then I try and consider the opposing argument.
Yeah.
Partly because I just want to understand it out of my own intellectual curiosity, and the other part is I don't want you to bring up the opposing argument and me look like a dumbass and not have anything to say.
Yeah. You're the devil's advocate argument on this particular situation.
Yes. But there is very, very, very few times when I really just don't understand the opposing argument.
What is it? Like, when is it okay for a president to act like an amateur stand-up comedian in the midst of a speech flying off the cuff in regards to a case that involves a Supreme Court justice sexually assaulting a woman back in the day?
Allegedly.
Even allegedly.
No collusion on the sexual assault front. So anyway, just to back up to the story, we have the President of the United States of America, most powerful man in the country, most powerful man in the Western world, mocking an alleged sexual assault victim, a private citizen. Let's take a look at it, and then I'm gonna, lose my mind a little bit because this is just
right. I had one beer. Well, do you think it was? Nope, it was one beer. Oh, good. How did you get home? I don't remember. How'd you get there? I don't remember. Where is the place? I don't remember. How many years ago was it? I don't know. I don't know.
And then the lady holds up the Women for Trump sign.
What neighborhood was it in? I don't know. Where's the house? I don't know. Upstairs, downstairs, where was it? I don't know. But I had one beer. That's the only thing I remember. Right?
So,
I had one beer.
Aside from the fact that he's mocking, that the President of the United States is mocking a private citizen and her potential trauma, he is factually wrong. She did know what year it was. There's a really great video that intercuts him doing that with Christine Blasey Ford's actual testimony.
Yeah.
And he's like, it shows Trump, and he's like, I don't know what years it is. And it cuts to her, and she's like, it was in 1982.
Oh, man.
Was it upstairs or downstairs? And she's like, we were upstairs.
Yeah.
It's great. So he is factually wrong before any of you a-holes pull out he's just telling the truth. No, he's being a scumbag.
Yeah.
He's being an absolute scumbag. Even if you don't believe Professor Ford's testimony, that's fine. That's your right. You don't have to believe anything. Even if you don't believe it, when someone comes to you with a sexual assault allegation or a claim or a story or anything like that, as a human being, you have to at least entertain the fact that it might possibly be true because you don't have a videotape of the situation not happening in front of you.
And the two things for me, and I agree with you 100%. The first thing is, you're the president of the goddamn United States, man. The president of McDonald's wouldn't talk like that. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not how a president is supposed to talk.
Right.
Like, he's clearing the swamp. It's like, man, that's like, just so inappropriate. He doesn't need to even be doing that. And secondly, is 3 days before his comments or whatever on TV,
he called her credible.
Yeah.
He said she was a very credible witness.
Yeah. And he's like, and I was like, so actually surprised, like to what you were saying before, like I don't like to just like condemn on both sides based on political parties. I was like, well, see, there's something he's done that's actually pretty cool. He's saying she seems like a very credible witness. He doesn't mind if the FBI goes. It just shows me how it like makes him look like an attention addict who can't control himself when he's got an audience. I know what that feels like. I know exactly what that feels like, but I'm not the president of the United States. You know, what happens if like there's some crazy disaster that happens and he needs to like communicate things or even worse, not communicate things.
You mean like Charlottesville?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's just disappointing. It's really disappointing.
Well, it feels low. It feels really like, hey man, I get that you're on a certain side of this, but can we all just agree that this is bad?
Yeah.
Can we all look at this and go, because look, I know Mitch McConnell condemned this. Jeff Flake condemned it. Lindsey Graham, Suzanne Collins, Murkowski, even squeaky voice Ben Shapiro was like, this is not helping.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody, that's what they always do. They always just condemn it and then go on with the rest of their lives.
Well, I'm glad they condemn it. I'm glad at least we can look at this with some civility and be like, look, man, that's what you're doing is really shallow. It's really shitty. It's really beneath the president to do this thing. You're a representative of this person. Even if you weren't president, it's still kind of a shitty thing to do.
Totally shitty. But the problem with, and this works for both the left and the right. The problem when you just blindly follow party lines is that you'll just blindly follow party lines. And that's what everybody's doing right now. They're saying they're condemning it, but then at the same time, they're not voting or doing anything other than just going along the party line. And then that just leads to more and more like head in the sand politics,
right?
Which is such a bad place to be, you know? And it doesn't seem like it's going to get better until it gets worse.
Sorry, we lost some light here. Can we fix that?
Yeah.
However it was. Okay. Yeah. So the irony of all of it is, you know, there's been a lot of criticism. First of all, you could criticize Dr. Ford's story left and right. You can poke holes in it. The story is 30 years old with human memory. It's not going to be flawless. It's not going to be perfect.
Fair enough.
I totally accept that. Like, well, what about this? Why did you wait 30 years? Which waiting a long time for a sexual assault victim, them waiting a long time to tell their story is very consistent.
Extremely common.
But if you want to question that, that's totally fine. But I think the irony in all of it is the reason why victims wait for so long to talk about it, if they ever even do talk about it, is because they're worried about being ridiculed. They're worried about being not believed.
Yeah.
And what is this asshole doing?
Yeah.
He is immediately mocking her.
Yep.
When she comes out.
There's not.
What is the lesson to be learned here?
And the awful part is just everybody cheering on behind him.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man. Like I get if you agree with the politics. I'm fine with that. If you agree with the economic politics, if you're conservative morally, I get it, man. I get it. But you have to be able to take a step back and objectively criticize your guy.
Yeah.
And on both sides too.
Yeah, your guy, your tribe.
Yeah,
you got to look at him and be like, guys, this doesn't represent me.
And then when you're not able to do that because you'll get ostracized, or you feel like if you do that you'll lose power, and the power becomes more important than the actual function of the job.
Mm-hmm.
That just leads to more and more and more and more and more corruption and bullshit. It's like, it's sad. I mean, that's just so ironic. The girl holds up the Women for Trump sign.
Yeah.
Right behind him as he's doing that, like,
Yeah, and I'll say it again. I'm not I wouldn't consider myself a libtard.
Yeah.
Or a cuckservative.
Yeah.
Or whatever else I get called in the comments or anything like that. But like, why is anyone on any side like intellectually babysitting the president and being like, look, man, this is probably not a good thing to do.
We're supposed to learn from him.
Yeah.
You know, we're supposed to be you're supposed to teach your kid when you grow up, you want to be like the president. And that basically what you're saying is that's acceptable. That's what you should grow up to be. You know, like when you dream big, you step on people when they're down. Like regardless, even if her testimony was 100% contrived and false.
Yeah.
still making fun of that whole situation is unpresidential.
Yeah,
You have no right. You have no business talking about that shit.
Right. You don't have to believe anyone's story. That's you're right, I suppose. But you should show them respect.
Yeah.
Especially when someone's claiming to be a victim.
Yeah, the president is literally supposed to be the personification of the high road. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not
like,
this guy.
Yeah, I know.
Not
but
this guy.
You're supposed to be the high road. You're supposed to America's supposed to be the high road. We're supposed to be, and it doesn't mean you're weak and you get beat down. It doesn't mean like you're a pussy because you turn the other cheek. It means the high road. It means you freaking don't need to lower yourself to that level and to mockery in order to blow up your own in ego.
And also, this isn't a win. This is not a win for anyone. Like him doing this.
Yeah, I don't even know what the defense for this is.
I actually don't either. That's what I'm saying. When we came into this this is one story where I don't get the opposing side. I don't get the people that would take up for him and say, "Wow."
I mean, like, well, they destroyed that man's life. No, they didn't. He's a Supreme Court justice now.
He's doing.
He had
pretty
a
well.
rough couple of months as they were interviewing him for one of the most powerful jobs in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, how hard is it to become a Navy SEAL? You know what I mean? Like, Christ.
I would say, yeah, he went through some shit, but I would say he's doing pretty well right now.
He's a Supreme Court justice now for the rest of whatever his working life is.
You want me to tell you the saddest thing about the whole thing? The saddest thing, I was watching, I believe it was Lisa Murkowski. She was in an interview, and she voted no. She's a Republican. She voted no.
Yeah.
I think she's from Alaska.
Yeah.
She voted no against Kavanaugh.
And I bet you her political career goes south quick.
Yeah, that's what they're predicting. But here's the saddest part. The saddest part is I watched an interview with her, and they somehow got to talking about what would Murkowski do if she had a time machine in this whole scenario. And she said she would go back and advise Professor Ford not to come forward. And that was pretty shocking. And they said, why? And she said, well, look how it turned out. Her life was turned upside down. It was ruined. She can't go back to her house. She is distant from her kids for now because that's safer, I guess, for the kids and all of this stuff. She wasn't believed. She's publicly mocked by the President of the United States. She didn't get anything from this other than a shittier life, while the other guy went on to, go and be on the Supreme Court.
Business as usual.
Yeah, exactly.
That's hard to swallow.
And that's like the worst lesson to be learned from this, because, again, this is why alleged sexual assault victims don't come forward, because they're afraid of all of this.
Ugh.
And I'm not saying he did it, but I am saying, respect the accuser.
Yeah. I mean, you have to...
Respect their story.
I don't know what else to say about the topic. It's infuriating me. I think he did it. I think he did it.
Yeah, I know you did, and I'm a little less on that side. I don't think she's lying by any means. Here's what I think. Here's what I actually think what happened with the Kavanaugh thing. I think he used to drink a lot as a teen, him and his boys, as was common in prep schools and a lot of high schools at that time in the early 80s. He drank a lot, no big deal. He was fucking around one night, got wasted, and jumped on her, and was probably just fucking with her, putting his hand over her mouth and all that. Because his boy jumped on the bed, Mark Judge jumped on the bed too, and then they all kind of fell off the bed, which to me suggests horseplay. So I think he did all that and doesn't remember it because it was 30 years ago. It wasn't traumatizing to him at all. Yeah. It was just kind of another drunken night with his boys. And doesn't remember it, and he's on the stand trying to defend his honor. He doesn't want to come out and be like, yeah, maybe it happened, but I don't remember, because that's kind of an admission of guilt. So he denies all of it. No, I remember everything ever when I was drunk and all that.
But it's obviously had a great effect on Dr. Ford's life and been traumatizing to her. And something that's that flippant and that goes that easy is not that. It's not that light of a situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it was that light of a situation, if it was just horseplay, first of all, if it was just horseplay, she's involved in that horseplay too. And he's a bad judge of character if he doesn't do it right, And secondly, the way in which he was trying to defend himself, if that was what he thought, he should have said something like that, and been as forthcoming as that and more sympathetic.
Right.
But it wasn't that. I feel like the character that he displayed was sort of in line with a person who likes to feel like they can overpower people and stuff. And then the whole partisan stuff came out where it's like you're supposed to be an objective judge and you have beef against an entire political party. Like that's
revenge against the Clintons.
Exactly. Like you can't.
George Soros. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Now you're being just as bad as everyone around you.
Yeah.
Now you're being bad as the Democrats, the Republicans, the libtards and cuckservatives.
And now they're trying to impeach him, which I don't even understand how that works.
So
they just got in.
They're waiting for a Democratic majority potentially in the midterm elections in a month.
In the Senate.
Yeah, and then once they get a Democratic majority, if that happens, then there are talks of reinvestigating him.
Yeah.
Or whatever, which I think is a slippery slope.
I will say this. I am going to make this commitment right now. I feel like such a hypocrite when I bitch about this stuff and then I don't vote. So I am voting. I have never voted for this anything other than the presidency. Maybe for my like high school class president. Yeah. But like I will vote. And whatever you guys want to do, whatever you want to vote for, I think you should register to vote and you should vote. Because other than that, you're just bitching. And I'm not going to do that anymore. There, you heard it here first.
There you go.
On the Kings of Influence podcast. Listen up, Kingdom.
And
Lloyd's voting.
There you go, Kingdom. And don't be okay with the president doing this bullshit.
Yeah.
Or really anyone. Like, I don't, you know. The shit, it makes me mad. And it gets into my soul a little bit, and I'm like, I start to lose my words like I am now, and I'm like, it's like you get so mad you just want to call names, like you fucking circus peanut. Yeah. What are you doing? What were you thinking when you were doing this?
A circus peanut.
Why? Like why would you mock an alleged accuser? You know that she could potentially be telling the truth and that this is a bad look.
Yeah.
Who in their right mind would point to that president and be like, I want my kids to be just like him? Nobody in the I would imagine nobody, but there were people at that rally laughing.
Yeah.
They were laughing. There was you saw there was like a kid in the background. The kid was stone-faced, thank God. But like the people around him were laughing. And all that.
Yeah.
And it like, why would any accused person come forward in this environment? Why?
No.
Why?
After they know the president also like grabs people by the pussy and like, you know, is cool with locker room talk and shit like that. Like it all falls in place. I don't know why I'm disappointed in myself that I like actually thought about it in a positive way for a day or two after he was like, yeah, she seems credible. I was like, hey.
Yeah, me too.
Hey.
Yeah, hey.
You know, and then it was just like a kid in a candy store. He gets in front of a hot crowd on that mic. Even his timing, he's doing like classic act outs and shit, like impersonating her voice. And then like, I mean, it sucks because he's getting laughs. Like he's working the room like a fucking comedy club.
Oh,
man.
Yeah. And I mean, mocking tragedy is or someone's trauma is questionable anyway, even in the realm of comedy. It is questionable. It is a weird fine line. He's not a comedian. Yeah. He's not doing it well by any means. And like, why as a politician go there? What, like, if someone comes up to you and is like, yeah, my son died, and you're like, my son died.
Yeah.
Like, why? Why would you fucking do that? Even if you don't believe her.
Yeah.
Fucking Cheeto dust bastard. Get my name calling pants on.
Yeah, get a badge, dude. Earn a badge. Well, what else is going on?
All right,
shit.
Sorry, that upsets me.
That was Ray. Ray's gonna need medication after this in the form of
I am like
booze.
Again. I think I'm more frustrated that I don't understand the opposing side. I think that's really part of it because I'm like, what are you? What
are you actually doing? What's the devil's advocate say in this situation? Well, that woman, she was wrecking his life from dirt. Yeah, so what? So what? Still not an excuse to do it. Anyway.
Not at all. Okay. What the hell is going on in the UFC?
Oh, man.
What are these people? They're fighting inside the ring. They're fighting outside the ring.
Dude, the UFC was a mess. It was a mess. So,
all right.
What was it? October 6th, I want to say. Everybody's heard of the fight. So, Conor McGregor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov.
We can kind of talk over this. I can play this while there's no audio to it, so.
First of all, this guy's last name is impossible to pronounce. Khabib. Khabib.
Oh, it's Khabib?
It's Khabib.
I thought it was Khabib.
Anyway, He beats Conor McGregor in the 4th round with a choke. Conor McGregor submits. It's been chaos all the way up until the fight. Everybody knows Conor McGregor. Just a showman and just like a trash talk. Massive.
Yeah.
He's gonna make a scene.
Okay.
But like it went really far with this fight, even for Conor McGregor. There was an incident a few months back after a different fight where Conor was chasing this guy on a bus and threw a dog in the bus and smashed the window. And this other guy, Khabib, is first of all, he's a monster. He's a monster. This guy Khabib, I knew he was going to win. I did. He is a relentless wrestler, and even the way that he fights is so different than McGregor. McGregor's a stand-up striker, long. He's got like a serious left hand, knocks people out with punches here and there, and good wrestler. Oh, is it?
Oh, this clip
is overpowering us. Much like Khabib overpowered Conor McGregor in the 4th round.
Clip should know. Yeah, it shouldn't have any audio at all. Oh, yeah, because we don't need it.
Wow. Anyway, can you hear me now? I feel like that old commercial.
All right. We should be good. Okay, there we go.
So anyway, so he's just a different fighter.
Okay.
He's a different type of fighter, and we could talk more about their fighting styles later, but leading up to the fight, there was just a ton of trash talking. So then after he taps him out, one of Conor's guys and it's not only Conor and Khabib who hate each other, it's their whole camps. Like,
okay. Yeah, okay, he just tapped him out in the video.
Yeah. So
okay.
He taps him out. So then Khabib like spits on him. And,
wow.
And then Conor's guys, Dylan Dennis is over in the corner. You're talking shit. So he takes his mouth guard out and throws it at him. And he's still talking trash. And then he jumps over. Watch it. He jumps over this thing like some kind of crazy monkey. And then jumps in with like a flying kick. And they start fighting each other in the crowd. Then Conor goes about to go over the side. He punches another guy, and then Khabib's guys come back into the ring and punch Conor.
Oh yeah,
this is like Mike Tyson biting the ear type shit.
Oh yeah,
this is that's and then I see another guy comes in here.
Oh yeah, the guy in the red. Yeah, what's the guy in the red? There he goes. Boom, like fighting a guy who just fought. Look at that. Yeah. Oh my God.
That's the crazy thing about Khabib. Khabib just beat the most dangerous fighter in the UFC in 4 rounds of crazy endurance. And he's jumping in to get another guy. It's nuts. So, yeah, so this was on the level, I want to say, of the Mike Tyson Holyfield ear bite.
I mean, everyone was talking about it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And it just goes to show, like, for me, all this beef that goes on YouTube with people talking and trash and all this stuff, like, this is what an actual beef is. You know what I mean? Like, the sad thing about this is that the violence spilled out into, like, the rest of the casino. And then, like, you got, like, people who are, like, fans of Conor McGregor and people who are fans of Khabib fighting each other in the lobby of the casino and shit.
I want to fight too,
dude.
I'm helping.
It's like these testosterone fueled events. You know, it's nutty. But that's what happened. I mean, that's the thing. I watched an interview with Khabib after, and he said something that was really. So they didn't give him his belt. He might get stripped of his title.
Khabib might?
Yeah, he might get stripped of his title.
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah, because the Nevada. I don't know, athletic commission, and so Dana White was saying it's really not only a UFC thing; it's more of like an athletic commission thing. So he might get stripped of his thing.
You can't jump out into the crowd and
no. But what Khabib said in the press conference is like, yeah, you guys are talking to me, but you guys are talking about me jumping over this thing, attacking a guy who A is also a fighter, and B who was like screaming profanities at me the whole time. But also, Conor, during the entire lead up to the fight, was insulting this guy's religion. And he's like a pretty devout Muslim. He's like very religious.
What was he saying about his religion?
He was like mocking him, offered him a drink, offered him whiskey and like, which, you can't drink if you're a Muslim. And he's insulting his dad, insulting his family. His dad is his like trainer from a very young age and like brought him up.
Is his name Khabib?
Yeah.
Was I saying it wrong the whole time?
Yeah.
Is that right,
It's
Zach?
Khabib.
What is his name? Khabib?
Khabib?
Yeah, Khabib
Who's the guy that
Nurmagomedov.
fought McConnor?
Yeah, Conor McGregor.
Conor McGregor. See, I don't even know the.
Yeah.
McConnor, Tyson.
No, but like it was a good point because
See, I'm not into sports, so that's clear. Very clear.
yeah, but it's a line you crossed. Khabib.
Okay.
It's a line he crossed, and that's what you get. He just fucked with the wrong guy. And I get that you're not supposed to. And Khabib didn't hit. Conor McGregor got hit in the back from behind, kind of got sucker punched, which kind of was a little bit whack. But it was things were.
You mean not during the chaos, but during the fight?
Right.
Okay.
No. During the chaos.
During the chaos, he got.
During
Yeah.
the chaos, he got.
Yeah, he got nailed a couple of times.
Yeah.
We can watch it on
Yeah.
here. We can watch McConnor the whole McGregor the whole time.
But he's not.
There he
innocent.
is.
See, he jumps.
He
there,
jumps, and then
He gets
they
pulled
pull him
down,
back.
and watch, he's gonna punch a guy. See that? He see him hit that
Oh
guy.
yeah.
So
He punched that guy. Then that guy.
tried to hit him, and then his I think it's Khabib's cousin comes in, and so it's not like Conor was standing there out of the
Right.
whole ruckus and being completely innocent. He was involved.
Okay, here the guy in the red comes. He definitely attacks McGregor.
Yeah.
Boom, there. He got him again, and then another guy hits him right now. Boom.
Yeah. So
Twice.
But he hit that guy coming over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was involved. He didn't get out of the way or anything. So it's just you don't want to see this in sports. You don't want to see it. But part of me kind of is like, you see what happens? Because I used to like you. This is the point for me. I used to love the UFC because it was honor among gladiators. These guys would help each other up at the end. They wouldn't talk trash in general. It was just two gladiators who bowed to each other and fucking went in the ring and then beat the shit out of each other and then respected each other. And it's slid back and because it makes freaking money, man.
Right. We live in a drama economy.
It makes money, and it's just this particular situation. And I hope that Khabib gets to fight again, and I hope that he doesn't continue this. I love the guy who's just sort of quiet and steady, and then kicks your ass when the chips come to fall, and that's what
The
happened here.
Drago from Rocky 4? I must break him.
I know. I must break you. He did, dude. He just beat him up.
Wow.
He just beat him up, just wrestled him and exhausted him.
You think
he's such a good fighter?
McGregor deserved it with all his antics and trash talk? Because he very much embodies that new age, entertainment personality, that whole Ronda Rousey, Donald Trump thing.
Yeah.
Almost Eminem thing where they're like, I gotta talk trash because this is what's working.
I mean, first of all, Conor didn't get that hurt, so it's not like he got beat and he got hit in the back, but it didn't hurt him. On the other hand, Conor threw a dolly through a bus window at these people and was really, and a guy went to the hospital, got stitches and stuff like that because he got cut by glass. So yeah, I think Conor had it coming, man. I think Conor had it coming. I don't condone this type of thing, but I think he did have it coming.
Wow.
Yeah.
You think he consciously thinks that when he's throwing a dolly through glass, or you think he just can't control himself? I guess what I'm asking is, when he does that, is he like, this is gonna get so many clicks, or is he just an impulsive, violent guy who you would never want to have your sister date?
No, I think these guys are smart. I think they know what works. I think they look at the history of fighting and they see like Muhammad Ali and all these people, Tyson. I don't think they specifically say, "Here's what I'm gonna do," but I think they say, "I'm gonna make a scene tonight. I'm gonna stir the pot tonight." I remember I was on a red carpet one time at the Emmys or some PGA event or something, and this manager that I was working with was like, "You should do something crazy." And I was like, that's not me, man. But people who do, the lights turn on them and the cameras turn on. And then all of a sudden, I will say that Conor McGregor typically backs it up. He's a very, very, very good fighter, But I don't know. It's sad to me that it's going right down the same road that everything else does. I felt the same way about Mayweather. I don't like Mayweather as a boxer. He's just a prick. You know what I mean? Just a prick. Great boxer, maybe the best boxer that ever was, but I can't get behind that. I like watching those guys get beat.
I think that's part of it. That's part of the show. I think that's part of what they're going for. By the way, I also had it's hard to call him a manager, but because it only lasted for a day or two, and that guy, the first things out of his mouth was okay, we got to get you to date someone famous.
Really?
So and I'm like, this is not You and I are
said that
not
out
on
of his mouth?
There was a lot more that he had said.
What did he say?
Too.
Ooh.
I mean, well, no, this story is from years ago, and I'm trying to remember all the stuff that he said because I remember being like, no.
Yeah.
He's like, you got to do stunts like that, like on
Yeah.
every red carpet, you got to do a thing, you got to make a show, you got to cause a scene, you got to get into drama with people. It's all fake, and we'll call TMZ and have them follow you around and all that. But like, you gotta like, he was like, I think we might be able to set you up with a date with Lindsay Lohan. And
we'll get a camera there.
yeah, and I was like, no, I'm not. God bless her or whatever, but I don't want to go on a date with Lindsay. I don't want to go on a date with anyone I'm not attracted to.
I mean, it works. That's the sad thing is that it works. You know what I mean? People get attracted to it. I mean, we're going to talk about Fousey after this,
but
you know?
Right. But it just oozes with sleazeball.
It's so sleazy.
When this like greasy manager is like, I know what you need to do.
I don't know. And I guess there are people who really succeed at that and they really do well with it. But I have to hope that's like, I never saw like Denzel Washington do that shit or like Will Smith or like, you know, Matt Damon or any of these actors. Or like, you don't see everybody do that. So hopefully you don't have to.
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon. I don't know why I said him as an example, but you know.
Not that we know about. I mean, I suspect Kanye is kind of doing this stuff.
Kanye, I think there are scenesters who are like, I'm going to cause a scene. I'm going to cause a scene. And like, what are the weigh-ins at these UFC fights? It's literally just, it's like when you take two fighting dogs and you put them in front of each other and you like, and plus these guys are raging hormones. These guys are like top of their physical peak condition. Is like, these are guys like, remember in high school, you would get in a fight and you would be like, oh man, I don't want to fight this guy. This is going to suck or whatever. These guys want to fight.
Oh yeah.
These guys are like, they want to fight and that's what they're built for. They're killers and they want to do it. And could you imagine like training for 12 weeks for something that's going to last like 8 minutes, 12 minutes, 20 minutes?
Every time I'm in bed. So, wow, you get a whole 12 minutes out of it?
I know, right? Good for you,
that's
bro.
the game. That's the game now. That's the whole strategy now. It's like, look at me, look at me, look at my antics, look at me, look at me. I'm drama with this guy, I'm fighting with this guy, and I'm doing this crazy thing. And look, I now suddenly support Trump. I said this crazy controversial thing. Oh, but that's not really what I meant. But look at me. Okay, now that you're all looking at me, buy my merch.
Yeah.
That's the entire game. That is it. Now that you're looking at me, buy my stuff, buy my album.
Yeah.
And do that. That's why Kanye does all the shit that he does.
Yeah. Yeah, that's 100% true. It's a spectacle. It's a spectacle. It's
It
part
is.
Of it.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you guys who watch us, you don't watch us smash.
Well, I'm telling you,
we should make a spectacle right here on the Kings of Influence podcast.
So guys,
I'm going to drink my own urine right now.
Oh my God. So guys, out there in the chat, that's Lloyd and I were talking about this earlier. We were talking about Lloyd and I, we need to find another podcast to beef with.
Yeah.
And like the way rappers beef, we could be beefing podcasts. But then instead of doing like a diss track, you got to do a discast.
Yeah, discast.
Which is an hour and a half of just trashing.
Yeah, just discast. That's pretty funny. Like, what's up? We're the discast. We're just gonna shit on somebody. We're gonna dig into their life. We'll research them and we'll just shit on their life for an hour.
Oh yeah, and then they'll do it back and forth, and then things will rise, and then we'll go on dates with Lindsay Lohan,
and then you'll have rival.
Oh my God,
you'll have like battle podcasts.
A battle cast?
Battle cast.
Oh Lord, no, that's it's a plan.
Yeah,
it's a plan.
You guys watch us. You guys watch how we grow this empire.
All right. Speaking of drama, this guy's doing pretty well. This guy, we talked about him before. I wanted to revisit it.
Yeah.
Shane Dawson, the famous YouTuber, he's got this documentary series going on now. He's done a couple of documentaries from what I read.
Yeah.
And he's got this new one, and it's about Jake Paul.
Yep.
And he was getting a little bit of backlash because of his inclusion of the sociopathy, antisocial personality disorder,
right,
in the documentary for some reason.
Yes.
Which
is a valid thing to include. It's completely valid.
You think so?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know if I mean, there's a couple of different parts to this, but we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Because I watched it finally, and I did have a take on it. First of all, he's really good at what he does.
Oh my God.
Without a doubt, he is on to something good.
Yeah.
It feels like it's in its infancy.
The show?
I'll say the project. I don't know if it's a show, but the series or whatever. Like the idea of him doing sort of guerrilla style documentaries, right? With little editorial control other than himself, from what I imagine.
The beauty of it is that like they always talk about like crossover artists. Like, how are they going to cross over? How are they going to cross over from YouTube? How are we going to make a full show out of this? And then they'll take a guy like Dawson, try to manufacture a 45-minute show for him and put it on TV, and it'll suck.
Right.
And the beauty of it is that Shane just did it himself on his own channel, and he's essentially reverse crossing over. He's doing their thing on his thing in his own way, and it's working, and that's fucking brilliant.
No, it's a very valiant thing that he's doing. I think it's great. I do think that the sociopathy part of it is a little unnecessary. Like, I feel this is two different ideas that could have been two different documentaries. On one, you've got the exploration of what a sociopath, it's a dated word, but what a sociopath is. On the other one, you got this interesting guy with this unorthodox life who is Jake Paul. So you got two different things. I feel like Shane had a natural fascination with sociopathy. It was like a morbid fascination. Maybe he was a little creeped out by it. Mm-hmm. And that he let that seep into this other interesting topic of Jake Paul, and it didn't do it in a very organic way. That is my take on his series as a whole. Although I will say I liked his series.
Yeah. I think that...
And it's not done yet. We're only on episode 5.
Yeah, for sure.
Just for the record.
Well, I feel like there are two subjects, because there's the Katie Morton issue, and then there's the Shane Dawson issue when it comes to that.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the Shane Dawson issue first.
I think that Shane is bringing it up because I feel like when you analyze a guy like Jake Paul and you see the type of behavior that he displays and you see the type of stuff that he does, you have to wonder if he can feel other people. You have to wonder if you can actually empathize with the people that you're affecting as you do these things you're doing. And I wonder that myself. And so for him to dip into that realm, the I don't know what. Sociopathy.
Yeah.
Which is like a new word for me anyway.
Sociopath in a Y.
Yeah, sociopathy.
Yeah.
It makes sense. It makes sense to go into there and be like, well, how can you make, like, we talked about this before, like people who do pranks and make people so uncomfortable as they're doing these pranks. If someone is uncomfortable in a situation, I am immediately also uncomfortable. I hate it and I want to make it better. And I think most people are probably similar to that.
Yeah.
To be able to shut that off and go further with it or enjoy it or go toward it, that makes you wonder if is this person a sociopath? Like,
sure,
so it makes sense to me.
Sure. Does it make sense to spend like 2 hours?
I mean,
on that part of it, and then get into the Jake Paul of it all? Because there was a huge emphasis on sociopathy, and then we can talk about sort of how the sociopathy itself was handled, which I don't think it was handled with the care that a subject matter like that should have been. But I think that's like, it's a beginner, it's a rookie mistake. Yeah, I also think he learned from it.
Like, have you ever watched any of Shane's stuff? Like
this was literally the first Shane. I'm embarrassed. It's literally the first Shane video I've ever seen.
It is not off-brand for Shane.
Right.
It is completely in line with what he does. It is completely in line with his brand of his humor. He's comedy. You know what I mean? So like, it's not like he's a licensed professional and is going out of the way to do things. He's doing this for dramatic effect, for specifically that reason. And then, yeah, taking it as far as he can go.
Right. But what it's doing is it's adding a tonal layer that I think was making people... I mean, I think that's why he got the backlash, was that his dramatic effect wasn't... It was sort of telling and not showing, if that makes sense. It was like horror movie-ifying this personality disorder. So if you think about it like this, so imagine if you made... This is way on the end of the spectrum, but this is an extreme case. Imagine if you made a 9/11 documentary and you added like Hanna-Barbera cartoon sound effects to it when the buildings crashed, doing, and that kind of shit.
Yeah,
that's a very poor way to handle that subject matter. So that's not what Shane did, but you can kind of see the direction that I feel he was accidentally starting to go, because I think his fascination with the subject was getting a little bit. It was running away with. I think he's a great editor. He's got a really good eye for that stuff, from what I can tell. But it was just way too heavy-handed. And I'm not the only one who Even if I was the only one who feels that way. I'm fucking right.
I just never would have, unless the internet threw a temper tantrum about it, I never would have ever even thought for 1 second to have my little feelings hurt. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels like...
You think they're all you think we're all snowflakes?
No, I don't think we're all snowflakes. I think there's just like, when you're dealing with 45 million views, right? Or 12 million views or whatever, a certain percentage of those people are gonna be upset.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
And to latch onto that, I just think that, like, yeah, it just never would have bothered me, ever.
I'm not upset. Don't get me wrong. I'm not upset about it. I do think it could have been handled in a different way. I think it is mental illness or personality disorders and this kind of stuff, and I do think it deserves to be looked at through a certain lens. Like, I always imagine...
It's not like he's the president of the United
States.
That's
fair. That is fair. That is fair. Okay. So that's kind of my take on it. But again, I want to emphasize that this guy has a future in doing whatever he's doing.
Yeah.
There's a version of this that he's doing well. And also, you can kind of see, like, it feels like he took that pushback and that criticism, and by episode 5, he started to kind of pull back. Episode 5 was tonally different. It was all about Jake.
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, so let me spoil it for you. There's nothing to spoil. Episode 5 is about Jake. He goes to Jake's house. He talks to Jake. Jake gives him background, and Jake Paul gives him background about himself, and you really start to see who Jake Paul is as a person without this other narrative over the top of him.
Right.
And you immediately go, oh yeah, the sociopathy thing.
It's not real.
It's disconnected. It's bullshit.
Well, maybe that's the brilliance of what he's doing. Maybe he like way pushes, like almost like a negotiation with the audience where you're like, you know, dive real deep into the sociopathy, be like, it could be this dark. And then when you show Jake Paul as an actual human being, it sort of balances that out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe it's brilliant.
Well, it very much humanized Jake Paul. And I don't know if that's what he was trying to do, but he certainly did. Like, Jake Paul seems reasonable and likable 21-year-old guy that maybe you or I would have hung out with back in our day. But, you know, people can look at him now and scoff on him because of his antics on the internet. But him just having a conversation, he seemed fine. And also, what I realized was that Shane just having the raw story there and not intercutting all these horror sound effects and all this stuff, like, that was inherently more interesting than this other thing that I felt he was trying to do, talking about this mental illness and stuff.
Maybe he had a bunch of footage. He's like, I gotta make this work. I gotta spice this up.
Well, also there's probably a million documentaries, a million things published about sociopaths and antisocial personality disorder. There's nothing. There's one documentary about Jake Paul, and it's this one.
Yeah.
So he gave us the thing we came to see. And just to me, it felt like the truth, and the truth is just way more interesting and way more credible. And I think he should learn from that. I think he did. I think that's why he pulled back. If you watch the 5th episode, it is noticeably different from the episodes before it.
Wow. You think is he editing his own stuff?
From what I understand, it's him and another guy.
Yeah.
I would be very impressed if it was just him, because that's a workload.
That's a lot
for one guy to edit. So I think it's him and maybe one other guy. Maybe he's got, I don't know what his setup looks like. I do know he has final say, and his eye for whatever he's doing is brilliant.
I mean, Jesus, how many videos that guy has is just unbelievable. Such an OG.
For sure. So let's talk about the Katie Morton of it all.
Okay.
You're not into it?
You know, there's at least like what you were saying before, I at least understand this side of the conversation a little bit more in terms of like last week I was like, it's a non-issue. And I still kind of think that it is.
Sure.
But it is, if you're a doctors having a show is always a little weird for me.
Yes.
Like doctors having a performance YouTube thing that's based on popularity and based on success. It's a little weird. Dr. Phil, Dr. Drew,
I was about to say Dr. Phil.
Kevorkian.
Well, I can tell you the problem. Let me tell you the problem. Let me tell you the problem with doctors having a show. And it's not that doctors don't deserve a show.
I know, we gotta like scrooge around.
I always have.
Me too. I'm
nuts.
It's hot in here.
I'm nuts about this stuff. So here's the
Going
problem.
backwards.
Here's the problem with a doctor.
Yeah, I know.
Over the top.
I know. Let's do this, bro. All right.
Here's the problem with a doctor having a show. It's not that doctors don't deserve shows. It's not they shouldn't have shows. It's that you can't really listen to a doctor who has a show.
Yeah.
Here's why. And it's not because they're inherently wrong. It's not because, Dr. Phil always gives bad advice or anything like that. Because shit, even what do they say? Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
True.
Right? Here's why you can't trust anything Dr. Phil says. Because he is in an environment where he has to put the entertainment quality of what he's doing over the well-being of the person he's advising.
Or even if it's not over it, even if it's half of it.
Yeah.
Even if it's a portion of it, it still compromises it.
Yes.
You
In
know
a
what I
very
mean?
big way.
Yeah.
In a very big way. It makes it questionable, and you just can't. And, having a therapist or a doctor or a physician, I mean, it's all about trust. If you go there and he says you got the flu, you gotta at least trust him on some level because he has that wisdom, because he's seen 100 other people that week who also have the flu, and he can be like, yeah, this is what you got.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to listen to him on some level.
So they got beef with her for...
So here's...
going, what you said, undercover?
Yeah, so Katie Morton is a YouTuber. She has a YouTube channel.
That's exactly the point. She's a therapist, but you said YouTuber first.
I did.
Yeah. And that's
I
exactly
did.
the problem.
Yeah,
that's exactly
we'll
the
get
problem.
into that. So yes, she is also a licensed therapist. She's a marriage and family counselor. She leads with that. It's like I went and looked at her stuff. It's in her bio. I'm Katie. I'm a licensed therapist. All this stuff. All her videos are about mental health. They're sort of little snapshots of this is what social anxiety disorder is, and all this stuff. Here's what it's about. Here's all this, and sort of general information, but also not poorly done. Like I looked at her channel. It seems like she's doing these videos and trying to help people and all that, and it seems very genuine. She comes across as very likable and genuine. She also seems to be friends with Shane. Which is why I guess Shane pulled her into this documentary.
Yeah.
So early on in the documentary, he is asking her about, this is the sociopathy part of it. So he's asking her about antisocial personality disorder, and she's describing it. And she started to get backlash because some of her descriptions of the traits that antisocial personality disorder people, sociopaths exhibit.
Display.
Yeah, she got a little... It felt like she was being judgy. She used words like icky and gross, and things that like a layman would do, but not something that I would ever see a therapist do. If my therapist ever did that, I would be like, dude, what's like that felt a little... I've had a therapist for 7 years.
Yeah.
Same guy, 7 years. I've never once heard him judge. Like, I've never felt judged. I've never heard him judge anything. Like, he always... Even when I come in and try to make my case, like, this guy's a prick. And my therapist will be like, well, or maybe he was thinking about it from this perspective. And I'm like, damn it, you're right.
Well, I did watch her response video because she was getting a fair amount of hate.
She got hate. She made a response video.
Yeah.
I saw it too.
It was... What she had to say was... it humanized her for sure, which I think was a big point of what that video was like, hey guys, I'm a person. She apologized, which I think is good. And to her credit, like when you say a doctor and a YouTuber combined.
Well, she's not a doctor, she's a therapist. Just to be clear.
Yeah,
it's a master's degree. How dare you?
I know, right? But I do feel like her intention is to help people. I feel like her channel her intention is to help people. And I've learned a ton of things from tutorials on the internet, not about therapy, but there are people who don't have the money to go to therapy, who are too embarrassed and things like that. And maybe she has a lot of good things to say. And hell, this is 2018 and blah, blah, blah. I think where she kind of made the mistake was, and who knows if she there was some fallout between her and Shane. She didn't know she was going to be involved in like a sketch comedy skit, kind of.
So you saw it as a comedy.
Well, yeah. When you pipe music that is that over dramatic into anything, it's done for like comedic effect for me. Or
I agree that it felt cartoony.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was part of my issue with it.
I'm sure she didn't have any control over that cut. You know what I mean?
None at all. Yeah.
And I think that's something that people don't understand.
But what about? So I guess in episode 5, she pretended. So Shane was gonna like sneak her in to the Jake Paul circle to be around Jake Paul, and didn't want to let Jake Paul know that she was a therapist there to, I guess, assess whether or not he is a sociopath.
Now, undercover
she said, they were very clear that they weren't going to diagnose anyone, but the implication is certainly there.
Right.
Right? So she goes and pretends to be a producer on Shane's thing. You can kind of see her there in the background. I didn't get clips of it because I'm lazy. But you can kind of see her there in the background, like pretending to be a producer with Shane. And they hyped up that narrative in the previous episode. And then in episode 5, it felt like they backed off of it a little bit. Again, I feel like Shane was responding to the criticism a little bit.
Yeah.
So they backed off the narrative a little, somewhat, but she was still there under false pretenses, supposedly, which does raise some ethical questions in terms of her being a mental health professional. And that's the pushback that's the second pushback she was getting.
My first question is like, Jake probably knew.
Yes, we can always assume that this is all fake.
So that just kind of deads the whole thing for me right there. It's like, well, Jake knew.
Yeah, well, but that's not the way they sold it necessarily.
Yeah, I know, but like if you're actually worried about these people's actual feelings, then worry about their actual feelings.
I'm just explaining why she got criticized. She got criticized.
Right.
Because she bills herself as a mental health professional,
right,
and was acting in a way or being portrayed in a way that a mental health professional could or shouldn't act. At its worst, she could lose her license for misrepresenting herself. Assuming this is all real, it's not scripted or anything like that. Even if it were scripted, she could probably lose her licene.
I agree
for
with
a couple
that.
of different things. This
you looked
guy.
him up?
This guy, Dr. Todd Grande, who I guess has a PhD in this stuff, and he kind of went through and broke down the ethics of it. And it was great. It was great to watch. So I went and looked it up. I looked up her license. She is a licensed therapist in Santa Monica for sure. I looked up the ethics, like the potential ethics violations that she could be, the code she could be violating from doing this stuff.
Yeah.
There's like, operate within your code of competence. That's one. She's a licensed marriage and family counselor.
Right,
She's very open about like sociopathy is not her thing. So she's not in her area of competence.
Right.
So that's one. Another one is very clear. It's clarify your role to avoid confusion.
Right. So don't go undercover with some weird sunglasses.
I spent a lot of time looking this up. There is no scenario that I could find where a therapist goes undercover ever. Like that's something police do.
Yeah.
It's not an undercover job. Therapists have to clarify that they're therapists.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely understand the beef with this. I mean, I can see where it's at.
Another thing is you're as a therapist, you're never supposed to express your opinion about someone's mental health unless you've examined them or they are your client.
Yeah.
There's also HIPAA rules and stuff like
Hippos?
that.
There's HIPAA rules?
Well, there's the...
Don't go in the river with a hippo. They're the most dangerous animal.
Exactly.
More dangerous than any predator. They've killed more humans.
It's very unethical to do so. No, you're not supposed to expose anyone else's medical health records. But she's not his counselor, so it's a little weird.
Yeah. Well,
but anyway, those are potential things that she could get in trouble for. Without a doubt, that board, certified board or whatever, will look at this. Without a doubt. No, like without question, it got enough pushback and enough people called it out that board is alerted to these 45 million, is one of these 45 million viewers, and they will look at it and make some kind of determination.
I mean, what about her clients? If she's got clients,
that's another thing.
Know what I mean?
That
or patients, I guess you should call it. But like,
yeah,
you're a patient.
Not
You're
a
like,
patient,
hey, wait, what's
a client? I guess.
Is it if you're a therapist, you go to your therapist's office. You're
your
patient?
Client. A patient implies that there's something medically. I don't know. But whatever, it's semantics.
Yeah.
But yeah, what about her clients? I do think she means well. I really, really do. I do think, assuming this is all real, it's not scripted or anything like that, I think she was doing the problem that everyone has with Dr. Phil, was like, she's a YouTuber and she's also a certified therapist. And during this project, her want for the YouTube part of it was went a little further than her need to be a professional in this field.
And it wasn't her. I'm sure that Shane doesn't have every single one of these moves and cuts and edits planned out in his brain start to finish. So I'm sure he didn't, she wasn't over his shoulder helping him edit it from that lens.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He doesn't know these things in terms of, I don't think he does, you know.
As a YouTuber or as an influencer, that's something you have to be aware of. going
but
in of like, I don't
that's-
have final cut of this. This is gonna be a problem.
Yeah, but as a Shane Dawson, you also, I mean, I don't know what his involvement, I don't know how much he thought about it, but I think probably he's probably bummed that he maybe potentially caused his friend a whole bunch of strife. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like that. I always try to really make sure that anybody we have in a video with us just looks great, feels great about it, is, represented very fairly.
Yeah.
And, and probably that's some backlash he didn't count on.
I send people messages and stuff like, hey, so this thing, hey, sweetie, your nipple popped out. Is this cool? Okay, it's not. Okay,
Wait, what?
We'll edit that out.
What video?
Yeah. So no, I'm very conscious of that because you don't want to like. We do live in the real world. And in the real world, these things can hurt relationships and stuff. So I hope it doesn't hurt their relationship. But yeah, I would. Well, yeah, I would be careful if I had a professional license to look after.
But I mean, it is one thing to have the criticism, but like I saw her response video, like I said, and she, and then I read through a bunch of the comments, and all the comments were completely ignoring what she said and being like, how come you didn't respond to any of the actual criticism that people had? And it's like, she was responding to the criticism. She was, whether she's wrong, she's right about it. Again, it's people put the blinders on. They just want to hate. And then there's other people just like throwing up hate speech up there. I wish this bitch would die or something like that. You're like, God damn. Like that doesn't have to be there.
See, I didn't find her response video as genuine as you did. I felt it was a little deflective, it was a little defensive. It was a little bit like these haters. And to me, I thought, well, I didn't see her really. It felt like she was annoyed that she had to do the video. As opposed to apologetic of like, look, I don't really feel this way. I'm not that judgy about. I don't have any judgments about this mental disorder, this personality disorder. Also, she hadn't done the undercover therapist thing at the point of her.
She didn't talk
video.
About the under. She didn't talk about it.
Well, because it hadn't aired yet.
Yeah. So, well, I didn't realize that, but she should have talked about it then. If that was.
Well, she's talking about it now.
Yeah.
Or
no,
something.
I think that she looked to me like a person who had been, affected by some really harsh language for the last couple days and was trying to toe the line between. She looked like maybe she might cry and she looked really affected by some of this
She
stuff
definitely
that
looked
said.
stressed out.
Yeah, and so I think her point was, she kept on referencing like their manual or something like that. And
The DSM-5.
yeah, the DSM-5, and she was saying like, people have criticized me for generalizing these 3 different, I don't know, things, sociopaths and things, but they're generally classified as the same thing.
She is right about that. Diagnostically, psychopath and sociopath, they are diagnosed the same way.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then to her point, and maybe she's not supposed to do this, but what she was saying was like, if someone habitually shits on people for money on a long-term basis and gives no regard to their feelings, that is icky. Whether she's supposed to be objective or not, you can still have an objective opinion as a human, and as a therapist, you can tell you can tell people, hey, that's not what you want to be doing. You're trying to change this behavior.
Sure, but that's a blanket statement about sociopaths in general. To me, that was the statement where I was like, oh, well, you don't have a lot of you apparently don't have a lot of experience in this field, because that is not like a small percentage of people with antisocial personality disorder actually engage in that behavior.
Right.
The disorder
that was the
means
first thing she said, though. She said the first thing she said was, this is different for every person. Everybody's on a spectrum, and it's always going to be different for every person.
Sure.
Which I kind of just take that as a given, wouldn't you? Like, it's always going to be a given that it's different for each person.
Maybe. I'm glad I am glad she clarified that.
Yeah.
Because when you say a thing or you're edited in a certain way, I will say this, it did come out better when she had final edit over what she was saying. Because when Shane had final edit, who knows what she said on camera that ended up getting cut out because he felt it wasn't relevant or whatever. So yeah, no, I will give her that. But I would, if I were her friend, I would advise her to be more cautious about what she's in and how she's portrayed, specifically because of that because of that license she has.
Yeah. No,
And
I agree.
You got to
with that.
protect that.
I agree with that. I mean, that's her bad for being like caught up in the little starshine a little bit of like, I'm gonna be in a Shane Dawson video and this is gonna get a shit ton of views. You have to think about the fact that you're a doctor first.
Right, not a doctor, a therapist.
I keep saying that.
Not a doctor.
This whole shit makes these topics on the internet make my mind swoon, dude. I can't even keep up. I need water.
Oh, this one's gonna piss you off.
Oh boy,
this is a good one.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Can we open that door? Is it loud at all?
Woo! Yeah, let's get some air in here.
Yeah, get the air flowing.
Thank you guys for hanging with us while we talk about this compelling stuff. Okay, speaking of people who have lost their damn mind, Adam Saleh and Fouseytube are in a I got to get a drama. I got to get like a drama sound effect.
Manufactured beef.
Yeah, some kind of drama sound effect because suddenly we find ourselves talking about YouTube drama, which I don't like and I don't find it significant, but this story stands out to me because we have covered some of the Fousey stuff in the past.
Yeah.
And there is an angle I want to take on this. So let's talk about it. Adam is the guy who actually did the airplane prank that you thought was Fousey.
I apologized for it. I already apologized for it.
You need to do a non-apology video, sir.
I know.
Because you are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Adam and Fousey were friends, I guess, for a while, and I don't know.
Went on a couple of tours together.
Well, just to refresh everyone, Fousey, who deals with, I guess, bipolar disorder, he was suspected to have a manic episode recently and disappeared from the internet.
Yeah.
Allegedly, entirely. He deleted his Twitter and his Instagram went blank and
supposedly
gave his YouTube channel away. Anyway, so he's been quiet for a while, at least a few months.
Yeah.
Adam recently came out with a series of videos. It's 4 episodes long.
Are they all out, or is he just dropping them one by one?
He was dropping them one by one. I think they all might be out now. I think it's a 4-part series. So Adam,
it's just
the whole thing is about how he's upset with Fousey and how Fousey's a bad guy. It's basically him making his case. It's the classic like, I don't like this guy, and I want all of you to not like him as well.
Yeah.
It's that whole thing.
Yeah. I saw it. I saw the first, it's like...
The beef is some kind of disagreement about the tour. Did you narrow it down to why they had beef?
Yeah.
There's some disagreement about a tour.
Well, no, it's about... I mean, he makes a compelling angle. Like, he basically runs down all the ways that Fousey... it's like that he's like just a super diva. A very diva, and also, like, screwed him out of a lot of money, like screwed a lot of fans out of a lot of money, didn't show up for tour dates, asked favors and then didn't get things back. Really pressed him to like host this, like do a show with him and then bailed on the last second, like some classic LA flake shit.
Okay.
Which seemed...
And that's 4 videos worth of content?
Yeah, that's where I stop. I stop at like, all right, then just never talk to the guy again and move on with your damn life.
Well, I would have started that before he turned the camera on. I'd be like, why do you need to take this? Yeah. Why do you need to take this beef public?
Yeah.
I don't. It seems like maybe Fousey was petty and all this stuff, but like you're also the most petty part about it is that you're going to devote an hour's worth of content to it.
Yeah. Well, what I could gather was these guys were acquaintances, and this guy has a fairly successful touring business that he goes on the road and does things, and Fousey was like, let's go on tour together, and asked him to go on the road together. That was like the first thing, and he's like, that's when you really get to know somebody, and he's right about that.
Yeah.
He's like, the first thing that happened, we were supposed to go to Dubai, and
I liked you until we toured together.
We were supposed to go, do this thing in Dubai, and we were doing our show, and he does this like motivational speech portion of the show, and he brings this kid who has cancer up on stage. I think it's Dubai or Australia, but he brings this kid up on stage.
Same difference.
Well, I mean, but I could see doing an Australia and Dubai date in the same.
I could see getting tour dates mixed up for sure.
Yeah, I think it was. Dubai. But he brings this kid up on stage. The kid has cancer. He shows a clip of him saying this just like toe curlingly awkward self-help motivational speech.
Okay.
God awful. Ugh, it's just cringeworthy.
Okay.
tells the kid, stay in touch with me. I love you. I'm going to pay for your chemotherapy. I'm going to start a Kickstarter for you. I'm going to take care of you. So it's this guy, Adam's tour. So the parents end up getting in touch with him and his people about Fousey following up with this stuff. And apparently Fousey started a Kickstarter, but then like just never really fulfilled any of the rest of the promises. So like, that's kind of awful. You know what I mean? So that was the first thing. And that to me is like where the story ends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're this guy and you really want, he's like, and my problem with this guy is like, he's like, but out of the kindness of my heart, I just thought I'd be a good guy. So I stayed with him and his girl called me up and he's like, oh, he's begging me. So out of the kindness of my heart, because I'm so kind,
Right.
here's why I did it. I'm like, dude, come on. Like you're doing this because you think it's good for you. You know what I mean? You think it's good for you and you're going to start drama. Any guy who's going to get himself kicked off of planes for views, that's a problem I have with a guy like this because his job is to look sincere. He does pranks. He makes you, it's misdirection.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it sounds like Fousey,
so it's hard to trust him on anything else is what you're saying.
Else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He also sounds like he's doing a little bit of the Trump thing. Out of the kindness of my heart.
Yeah.
No one has ever had a kinder heart than me
Yeah.
and my huge, massive heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. He goes down a legit list of stuff where you're like, that's awful.
Yeah, of course.
Like
of course.
the whole, and then apparently there was some event where these guys are trying to book a tour over in Europe, and you know how hard to book a tour is. You have to know shit in advance. You have to people buy tickets in advance. You lay out money, and then apparently Fousey flaked on it because he wanted to go on stage with J. Cole. And it was
because he's a train wreck right now. Why would
so why first
bad
of all
judgment?
Why would you want to cancel a whole tour just to go on stage one day? Just go on stage and then fly over there, or whatever. But
because he's mentally Fousey. Yeah. We've established this. Fousey is mentally dealing with stuff right now,
dude. He is, and like it or not, this kid Adam, he doesn't come off as crazy like Fousey is.
Right.
It's not
that I agree with.
It is not that stuff. And then the other thing he did, which he brought his manager, this guy, maybe Nas is his name was?
Yeah.
I feel it was Nas. And then maybe it's his manager. He works together, and he has such a great British accent. That guy Nas, it was awesome.
So sexy.
I know, but he kind of goes more into the business stuff about, when you plan these tours, you promote them and you lay out a bunch of money, and then if you flake.
Right.
You don't get all that money back. And, and then especially fans who buy tickets in advance and they don't get paid back, that's really a problem. So, he has legit beef. It's just so see-through that to be doing this because of any other reason. I wish he would just say it.
Say what?
Hey, man, I got this beef with him. It's a legit beef, and I'm going to try to capitalize on this shit as much as I possibly can.
Because I know you guys want to hear about it.
Here's
my problem with it. And Fousey, my knowledge of him is limited. He may or may not be a terrible guy. He may be a great dude who's having some mental stuff. Here's my problem with it. So a few weeks ago, I was going to talk about this last time we talked about Fousey, and I didn't get to it. A few weeks ago, Fousey had put out his last video that he was going to put out. And it was I think it was sort of a confessional, and then he deleted it immediately afterward. But
somebody downloaded it.
But I got a quote from it, and this is my issue with all of this. So here's what Fousey said. He said, "In all my years of therapy, the number one question they would ask is, are you suicidal? My answer would be, I would fantasize about suicide all the time, but I would never have the courage to take my own life. The day I posted a music video that wasn't well received and I got that pushback from everybody is the first time I said I would love to not be here. And suicide became such an easy option. And instead of letting that win, I decided to just leave. And that's when he left sort of the internet and allegedly left the country, but allegedly didn't yet or whatever. That doesn't matter.
Still posting and stuff.
My point is, I hear this stuff and I read this stuff and I think, so this guy is over here talking very openly about suicide in the present, as in I am thinking about this. These things are crossing my mind currently, not when I was young or a teenager, but now. And you're seeing that and you see him go through all this stuff and you're going to make an hour's worth of hate content toward him. You don't think that might be a little risky? The thing is, I don't publicly beef anyway, because I think it's stupid. But if I did, I wouldn't beef with the guy who's suicidal. Yeah. That's just, I don't know. That's just a territory I wouldn't want that to I wouldn't want the worst to
You wouldn't want
happen,
that on
and then
your
I
head.
would feel that for the rest of my life. Like, oh man,
That's a great
I
point,
trashed
Ray.
that guy, and then he killed himself.
Unless they're in cahoots.
They could very well be in cahoots, but like I always say, we have to take these stories at face value.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they could all be fake.
That is a great point of being like, that guy is, for someone who's so concerned about being a good friend, that's not a very, very like, you're not really thinking that hard. Like, just think for 1 second that if this guy is as unstable as you're claiming he is, what do unstable people do? And you're gonna throw rocks at that beehive right now? Like,
You're gonna poke the bear.
yeah, like, geez, man.
Or whatever. And it's not like I didn't see Fousey come out and say anything, and so Adam's like, well, I have to respond. It's not like that. Like, this kind of came out of nowhere.
And 4 videos worth, it's just so clearly,
it's a capitalization.
So clearly capitalization. It's like, and the whole video is like, it's not about the money. It's not about the money. You know, it's not about this. It's not about that. But like, it is. It's about it, even if you don't monetize the video, ultimately it's about the popularity, which is about the, you know.
Well, yeah, and that's
the shine.
That's the way daily vloggers and YouTubers think.
Yeah.
Like, you know that mindset very well.
Yeah.
You know what they're thinking about when they put these things together. And they're not thinking like, oh, I'm going to do the public some good.
Yeah.
They're thinking like, oh, this is going to be great for me. I'm totally good. My audience is going to eat this up.
Yeah.
Even if it's at the expense of someone else. And that someone else may be mentally ill.
That's why as much as we have to talk about it, if I ever am uninformed about this stuff, and I apologize, but I don't want to feed that beast. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't want to get involved in that. I want to watch other shit. I want to watch like pieces of art that people have worked to create, or go see a good movie, or go enjoy a good show that people have put time into, that is imaginary for a reason. That's beautiful. Like, if I ever even politics and the news I get fed up with, because it feels like the same goddamn game.
Yeah, it is.
It feels like the same bullshit. Like, the sad state of affairs when YouTube feuds feel the same as UFC feuds feel the same as political feuds. It's just like, Jesus, why don't everybody just shut the fuck up for 20 minutes?
Well, I agree with you that and I don't know, I've never met Adam or anything like that. I know he's a prank guy, daily vlogger, that kind of thing. But like, yeah, if he had such a big heart, maybe not spend an hour on video trashing the guy.
Yeah, and don't try to convince me that you stayed with him because you're trying to be a good friend. That's bullshit. And if it is the reason why, then like, dude, like, man up. Like, man up and have tough conversations when you need to have them. But that guy doesn't seem like the type of dude who wouldn't have it. So that just means, like,
I know.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, he seemed like the kind of guy that would say something up front.
Absolutely.
Like, Adam definitely seems like that kind of abrasive New York kind of guy where he's like, listen, man, you're fucking me over.
Yeah, you're fucking
Not
me over.
the kind of guy. So here's how he's coming across. He's coming across as the guy who just went through a breakup, and now he's got to go on social media and trash his ex.
He's Alanis Morissette right now.
What did she do that?
Yeah, her whole you ought to know.
Oh yeah,
It's like,
that's
you know
great.
what I mean, yeah, he's totally Alanis Morissette right now.
Oh, yes, like, man, if I get that you're beefing and you're fighting, you're mad at this guy. Maybe you had a conversation with him directly, maybe you didn't, but I just don't see the need to like take it all public at all. Am I an old man?
No, you're not an old man.
Back in my day.
It's not. Yeah, but it's like, come on, somebody's got to say that shit. Somebody's got to like step up and say actually what it is. Like, dude, we're you and I are YouTube people too, and it's like, it doesn't have to be that way, man. Go make something, dude. Go make something.
Well, right. Go make. How many disagreements have you had with people, entertainers or not, since you've started?
Infinite.
Yeah, like so many,
small and
large names you would recognize, names that you wouldn't recognize because they're people
friends,
on the side.
I don't have any good friends I haven't gotten a screaming match
Never
with.
once did I go public with it. Never once did I trash them publicly ever. And even now, if I tell a story, I'm not like, yeah, this fucking guy Dave. I'm like, oh, this guy I used to work with did this thing, and you would never ever be able to figure it out or anything like that. And I'm not saying that I have I'm on this like moral high horse or anything like that. But I'm just saying, like, there are better ways to go about things. Even when I got in a fight with Maker, the company, I didn't make a video about it. Like, I wrote an op-ed about a company.
We are sort of trash talking somebody right now, so maybe we are a little bit hypocritical when it comes to that stuff. But I think the point still stands.
Sure.
You know,
the point definitely stands.
I think that, like, yeah, it's not. I've never wanted to like give advice to people. It's just like what my preferences are and aren't, and how I feel about where content is going and what it's doing to a platform that I love on the whole. You know what I mean? I don't like to see that happen. You know, and I'm a guy who does rap battles for a living. You know what I mean? But like, those are fake things. Those are characters from history. They're not actually real. And it has an impact. And I think that's what my biggest problem with it is it affects generations down the line. It affects people. You want to say that you're changing people's lives, and like, you know, everybody has those stories about fans who come up to them and say, man, you really got me through some tough times. Right, great. So when you got done with those tough times, who's the person that survived? You know what I mean? If you got through tough times and then you just go on to be a douche because you were influenced by these videos that like glorify being a douche to people, then like then where are we at? You know? So that's why I get upset about it. That's why I have an opinion about it.
Yes, and I also agree. I think being a content creator where you create a thing, where you make something, a show, a series, or whatever, is far superior than being a content creator who just beefs.
Yeah.
I'm just beefing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the shelf life is on that.
Well, apparently it's 5 years and counting. I mean, because that's, I feel like, where it's been on.
Maybe.
I mean, it is, I feel like it's an age. It's an act as old as time. You know, it reminds me of wrestling.
Yeah, but I do think it will fade in and out of the zeitgeist and popularity. Remember when a sex tape used to make your career?
Yeah.
Now no one gives a shit.
No one gives a shit. I kind of love that.
My point is, Adam, make a sex tape.
Yeah. Right.
Because the beef is fading out.
A prank sex tape.
No, my point is, like, if your boy or your ex-boy is having some mental stuff and he's talking openly about suicide, even if you don't potentially believe him, like, be careful.
Yeah.
You're treading on thin ice.
Excellent point.
Because all Fousey has to do is attempt it or say he attempted it, and people are going to look at Adam like he's a bad guy.
Well, and that's not the worst part. The worst part is that the guy attempted it, and he's having problems. And
that's also
he
true.
Might take his life. You know, that's scary shit.
That is also true.
And it happens in every industry. You know what I mean? Specifically ours. You know, entertainment. So anyway,
we are a sad, sad people.
Hey! What can cheer us up? Make it or break it.
Make it or break it. So I want to change it up this time. And we will play, we only have one make it or break it soundbite because I love that soundbite. But I think we should play that game that you and I played that one time, which is Sex is Like.
Sex is Like? Okay.
All right. So what are the rules of Sex is Like?
Here's how
and
Sex is Like
you can play along
goes.
At home.
Yeah, you can see this. You can see this in improv shows across the country, specifically West Side Comedy Theater, Friday and Saturday night, 10 p.m.
Hey-o.
The sex is like this. You give me a word, and I tell you. I make an analogy about how sex is like that noun or thing. Like, give me a noun.
Chocolate.
Chocolate. Sex is like chocolate. Melts in your mouth, not in your hands.
Hey!
You know what I'm saying? Maybe M&M's more specifically, but play along at home, friends. So yeah.
And then what? And then you go, or do I?
And then you go. Now, you tell me how sex is like chocolate.
Oh, okay. Then I do the same one.
Yeah, we'll rail on this one for a while and then move on down the road.
Sex is like chocolate. You think it feels amazing, but it really makes you fat.
Sex is like chocolate. It's great during, but after everything's kind of sticky.
Sex is like chocolate. It's best with a cherry on top.
Sex is like chocolate. Sometimes it has nuts, but not always.
Oh,
yeah, that's how it goes. What else? So sex is like a suitcase.
Sex is like a suitcase. All the good stuff is on the inside.
Sex is like a suitcase. Carry on.
Hey, carry on. That's nice. Sex is like a suitcase. You gotta take it everywhere.
Yeah.
You got one from the chat if you'd like.
Oh yeah, we got one from the chat.
Yeah, Pillsbury toaster strudel.
Pillsbury toaster. Sex is like Pillsbury toaster strudel. I've never had it.
Sex is like Pillsbury toaster strudel. It's not really complete until you put the icing on.
Hey,
her.
Oh, no. Sex is like Pillsbury toaster strudel. If you one way or the other, you got a bun in the oven.
Oh God, sex is like Pillsbury toaster strudel. Will burn the inside of your mouth.
Sex is like a Pillsbury toaster strudel. I don't know.
Sex is like a Pillsbury toaster strudel. My mom never gave those to me. Okay, let's switch.
Thankfully, my mom never gave me
Thankfully, never. I couldn't afford them.
Yeah, right. We had the generic Kroger's.
Oh God.
Kroger's toasted Strudels.
And we were grateful.
Yeah, and we were happy.
And we were grateful. Okay, let's do one more
from the chat. Do we have any from the chat?
Sex is like a boss fight.
A boss fight?
Sex is like a boss fight. When you're done, you are done playing the game.
Yeah.
When you finish, you're done playing the game. There it is.
Yeah. Sex is like a boss fight. It's you're never gonna win.
Yeah. Sex is like a boss fight. I never really get that far.
Yeah. There you go. We'll end on that. That was Sex is Like, everybody. We'll have to come up with like a sex. We'll have to come up with a fun soundbite for that game.
Oh, that'll help our female demographic for sure.
Yeah.
That'll.
No, we play this at the theater all the time, and the girls are awesome at it. Dude.
Oh,
They're
I bet.
So funny.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet it gets really gross.
Mm-hmm. The grosser, the better.
Okay, like everything that's good.
Like pretty much.
The grosser, the better.
Like Pillsbury toaster strudel.
We have never talked about Taylor Swift on this show, probably for good reason.
Yeah.
Because I'm it's not that I'm an anti-Taylor Swift guy. I'm not a fan in terms of like, I don't care about her style of music. I'm not into the celebrity of it all.
Yeah.
But she was making headlines this week and she was pissing people off because she suddenly went political in a time when Taylor Swift is at a point in her career where she doesn't need this. She doesn't have an album coming out. It's not like the Kanye thing where she needs all the eyeballs on her. Like, she's doing great. And she, like, just one day she put up an Instagram post. Let's take a look at that because that matters. One day she puts up an Instagram post and she's talking about...
Holy crap.
Yeah, it's a really long one, boring stuff. She's basically endorsing two Democrats.
Okay.
Two politicians for Tennessee.
Okay.
And not endorsing Marsha Blackburn, who is the Republican.
Okay.
I don't know anything about these particular Democratic politicians, so it's hard for me to say, oh yeah, these guys are great or these guys are terrible or whatever. But to me, this is illustrative of the time that we are in, where you really can't escape being in politics. Like, it has permeated pop culture in such a crazy way. Like, politics and pop culture are the same thing right now. Yeah. Politicians are celebrities.
Yeah. Yeah. It's squad up time. You know, it's pick your team, right? It's
very tribal.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me that she would do something. Is she from Tennessee? Is that why
that's her thing.
That's her hometown?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me. I feel like you might see more and more of this because I feel like specifically women and when you're seeing things on TV about the Supreme Court justice and things like that, I feel like more and more women who haven't said stuff on topics of all across the spectrum are like, I can't take it anymore, man. I have to say something.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah. I mean, I can't begrudge her for that. You know, she's obviously got a massive amount of eyeballs and ear holes on her. And I don't, you know, I think she does the type of music where it probably going to hurt her more than help her.
I would think, which is why it was potentially a risky move for her. But her whole thing was like register to vote. Voter registration spiked the next day.
Great. Good for her, man.
It was as much in that next day that it was in the entire month before that.
So people are like, where the fuck have you been this whole time then?
I guess, or it just reminded people to register to vote. I think they had 65,000 extra registrations, which is, I guess, a lot.
That's great. I mean, I don't know why anybody's getting upset at her about it.
Well, you've always got the people who are like, celebrities should stay out of politics.
No, they shouldn't.
No, I totally agree with you.
They shouldn't.
They're people.
Yeah, they
have an opinion.
They're in this country. They get affected by, like, it's you are trying to do the best that you can in your country that you can do. Like, there's a difference between being a politician and being in politics. So, like, you know, when Ronald Reagan or Arnold Schwarzenegger or Clint Eastwood or any of these people go into politics, that's different. I still don't think they're necessarily terrible at it. Some of them are great at it. And what is politics? It's convincing people of things, which is what acting is. So I think that's use whatever power you have to make the world a better place, in your opinion.
Well, right. And also, you're a person. You're a person. You have an opinion. You have an idea. You know, especially the way Taylor did it. This wasn't like at some elitist award show, a celebrity talking to other celebrities. This was directly to her audience on her Instagram. And I think as a human being, she has that right. Kanye has that right too. I don't think Kanye should bullshit. They try to bully me.
Yeah.
They try to bully me and not wear the MAGA hat. Dude, they just had the president on 2 years ago.
Yeah.
On Saturday Night Live, they had him on, and they're going to bully you for wearing a hat? Also, who in their right mind doesn't believe that Kanye doesn't walk around with an entourage of 12 huge black guys who are also aspiring rappers?
Well, I don't know what color they are.
So, fine. Oh, I'm the racist now? It's fine, but like no one bullied him backstage.
Yeah. No,
get out of here.
I don't think you should use those like hot button terms.
They bully me.
They bully me. It was ridiculous. But I think that like people, the only beef I think some people would have would, not only, but the only thing I could say is like, man, if 65,000 people registered to vote after one post
in one day,
like, you know, if you really wanted to be involved, maybe you could have done it earlier, but that's her right. You know, like that's who's to say when she can and can't do things. I think she just got to a point where I just can't sit by and be silent anymore. You know what I mean? Like I just can't, whichever way she wants to go. I'm sure there's plenty of celebrities who are conservative as well. You know, Tim Allen's got a big career. But I think that like she finally was just like, screw it, I got to get involved here. So
yeah, I mean, there are some conservative celebrities. Celebrities tend to go in the other direction just because, I don't know.
It's an artistic job.
It's an artistic job, and you know, celebrities tend to live in LA or New York, which are, you know, the coastal city, the coastal elites.
Yep.
And you're and I think that annoys a lot of people that celebrities tend to go left, which to me it makes absolute sense. Like look at the location they're living in. Look at their, you know, they tend to be artists.
Sorry guys.
Shutting off your phone, Lloyd.
And
I don't have a ton of beef with them leaning. It is a little bit cliche, I would say. Like, I wish more celebrities would be conservative so there would be more of a balance, because I don't find fault in being a cuckservative or a libtard for that matter. But it would be more interesting to see a balance among celebrities.
I would be so much more into politics if we would focus on when people work together, which I think happens more than we ever know. I think that happens all the time, and it's just not sexy. You know, I feel like they're working on bills all the time that are right down the party middles. Like I don't know, conservation on some levels. There's a lot of conservative.
Russian sanctions.
Yeah,
gets bipartisan support.
Yeah. So I just don't think it's as sexy, and it's just like it doesn't. And the media now, I mean, if there one thing it is about Donald Trump that I agree with, that he's like, the media is a circus, man. It's whatever you want it to be, and it's not accurate, and don't trust it. I fucking agree with that 110%, dude. I think sometimes that CNN is just as bad as Fox News. It's just like equally as just like, I'm not listening, I don't care, I'm just gonna make this all negative about the other side until we can get our other people in there. I think that's true.
With the media?
Yeah, I think so. And I think like I just don't see any emotionless black and white media.
Not really in the US, because we have a Nielsen rating. There's that old Nielsen rating thing. The Nielsen rating based cable news system. Yeah. And they got to get ratings, so they got to entertain the audience. How do you entertain the audience? Commentary.
Yeah.
So it's all about the commentary, and I will admit the commentary is far more entertaining than just reading like the facts off a page.
Yeah.
I will say. And people tend to, you know, we are tribal creatures, and we tend to gravitate toward points of view that reinforce our point of view.
But I'm not like that. And that's why I have a big problem with it, because maybe I'm a middle child, or maybe I'm from an improv sort of hippie crunchy background, but I tend to go with, I immediately try to diffuse situations and bring people together.
Yeah.
Which is what a lot of politicians say that they're all about, you know, when they're like grassroots politicians, bringing the community together.
Mm-hmm.
But so I don't ever, I'm like you on that. I like look at both sides when I examine both sides, no matter how awful I think it might be. But like, if you sat and watched Fox News for 20 years of your life, and then you listen to CNN for the first time, and everything about your whole life all of a sudden got shit on by the other side, of course you would be like, screw these guys.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so I think like we should be trying to teach people. That's why I always liked Chicago as a city. I always felt it was like literally Midwest and in the middle of the country in terms of like view, you know? But I just think that there should be a bigger focus on get the facts, hear both sides of the story, and decide for yourself.
Well, yeah, but that's just not the way
I know.
people tend to operate. The way we tend to operate, and this is just human nature, and the bigger group of humans you have, the more likely they are to fall back on that, like, that Neanderthal, almost lowest form of consciousness.
Yeah.
It's like that group think, that
Yeah.
like mob mentality.
Yeah.
It's like the bigger the group is, the dumber they are. And I hate to use the word dumb, but it all takes place when we start to like otherize each other. Now think about this. Think about when you see someone on the news and they're talking about the Me Too movement, and they have this like credible allegation and they're telling their story or anything like that. It's completely apolitical. And then they say something like, and we have to show these men that what they're doing is wrong.
Yeah.
Immediately you go, wait a minute.
Whoa.
I'm a man.
Yep.
I didn't do any of that.
Yep.
Why am I getting lumped in with these other a-holes?
Yeah.
Who, by the way, are probably a smaller percentage than what they are making it out. But first of all, it's not 100% men.
Yeah.
Not 100% of them, because I'm a man and I don't fall in that percent. So you can hear me getting defensive. So immediately when you get otherized, you start to go, wait, I'm not like that. My boys aren't like that.
Yeah.
Like
You're making enemies out of
right.
friends.
Like it starts to divide people.
Yeah.
Now, naturally, people like that's what makes them into tribes. You're like, well, they are on this side, I'm on this side, and there are these other people over there, and like you want to win and you want to score points. I even said earlier, the only time I've really seen bipartisanship from Congress in the last 2 years was when they were voting on Russian sanctions, which allowed them to make someone else the other team. And they're like, look, we're all on the same team here, us Americans.
Yeah.
Fuck those Russians. We're going to do impose these sanctions.
Yeah. I mean, it's
that's
just
the way humans are. We're dumb.
We're animals. Humans are animals, man. We're like 5,000 years away from eating each other. You know, like even less than that. You know what I mean? We chop each other up. We're 300 years away from slavery. It's like 200
That's
years.
true.
You know, it's
That's
like
true.
we're literally trading in the business of slavery 2-3 generations ago.
And it was normal.
Yeah, and it was
It
totally
was
normal.
way normal. Oh yeah, slave. Yeah,
So
great.
like I'm never. It's not surprising. It's just like it's like we need to evolve faster. You know what I mean? Like let's evolve faster and see what happens. But I totally agree, dude. It's counterproductive to make. I feel that way all the time when I hear the like this about guys or this about white men or whatever. Like I'm a white man. I want to be friends with everybody, but it does make you inherently defensive because you're a human and you're like, oh, that's not me. I'm not like that.
Right.
And I don't know how I want to have an open conversation with people about that to be like, how do we eliminate that? How do we make that? How do we minimize that? And I think that anybody who's truly interested in making things better is going to be excited to have that conversation.
Well, Trump gets a lot of criticism because he capitalizes on that fairly openly.
Yeah.
Oh, the Clintons, you know, the all that shit, the left, the Clinton, and not that the libtards aren't guilty of that as well.
Libtards.
But as a leader and politician, as the leader of the free world, it's like you in my perfect scenario, you want to kind of bring people together, not divide and conquer. And Trump's very effective at dividing and conquering.
Yeah, well, that's
why
business.
he keeps throwing that Clinton shit in every conversation, knowing damn good and well that there's not a lefty person I've talked to in 2018 who gives a damn about any of the Clintons.
Not anymore.
No, they're not like, I don't. Yeah. I was never really that big of a support. She's not really that left. I don't really care.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a whole other conversation. Yeah. But what is going to bring us together is Taylor Swift music.
Is that how we should go out on? Should we end it on the Taylor Swift songs?
No, because we got one more song. One more story.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Why? Well, you got to go drop a deuce or something?
Well, I'm always like 10 minutes away from no.
Okay. I'm really trying to reel in that female audience for us.
Right.
If you haven't.
Exactly.
If you haven't.
Exactly.
So let's talk about Columbus Day, because Columbus Day was this week.
Yeah.
And it's one of those holidays that's like kind of fading out.
Yeah.
Because Columbus is falling out of favor in history, and you're I love the word cuckservative. Your cuckservative friends were all up in arms.
Oh man.
Because Columbus, Ohio, the city that gets it's a great city, by the way, gets its namesake from Christopher Columbus. decided this year to completely cancel Columbus Day. Your city workers had to go into work, like your garbage
Oh,
men.
really?
Yeah.
That kind of sucks. I mean, I think they should just rename it or like don't
Some
take the
places
day
have.
off from them. Like that sucks.
Well,
you know?
some places do Indigenous Peoples Day now.
Yeah, I mean, do something like whatever
as a thing. But
like, just call it like Labor Day Deuce. You know, like
Labor Day Part 2.
You get 2 Labor Days now. You know what? You all work hard. You're in Columbus, Ohio. Give them a.
Dude,
I'm totally down with changing the name. It sucks to take the day off from them.
I agree. I was this is a total sidebar, but I was an exchange student in Spain early in college. I was there for about 9 months.
Yeah.
And those bastards take so much time off.
Oh yeah, dude. America works so hard.
They work like 4 months out of that year. There was always a holiday, and I know because like everything closes. So I'm like trying to go to the grocery store. I'm like, why is the grocery store not open?
Siesta, man.
I'm like, oh no, it's a, and they would tell me the name of the holiday, and I'm like, what is that even celebrating?
Dude, God bless him.
Oh, this painter
God
did the thing.
bless.
Oh God.
The older I get, the more I am like that.
The more you want those things.
The more I'm like, man. I mean, when you're dying on your deathbed, everybody's like, you gotta grind, man. And you do. I grind, man. You meet both. I've been working since I was 12, and like, but when I sit back and on my deathbed, I'm not gonna be like, man, I wish I picked up that extra shift. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I feel like no, I like to work. I like experiences, but I don't feel like there's anything to live for if all you do is bury your head in work and only work. It's like, why the hell are you working so hard for what?
That's true. I enjoy the work though. I mean, I'm really into it. I feel like it's like work is easy for me because it's so straightforward. Like put your time into it, put your back into it, put your focus into it, and good things will happen. Make the right moves and you'll be fine. People are hard for me.
Yeah.
Like most people in scenarios. Not saying that I don't get on stage and do some pretty good stand-up and all that stuff, but like individual people and relationships, that's the thing that's hard for me to figure out.
Yeah, but that's the real stuff.
That's what I'm told, but I never feel that way.
Yeah.
I always feel so much satisfaction with getting a work thing done. I only feel half as much satisfaction as like going out and being social.
Well, that's one thing. I mean, being social, but like, you have intimate relationships, you know, that you can sell. Like, if you sold, or if you like made the most beautiful thing in the world and you worked really hard on it, and you could share it with no one.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
You have a point. Yeah, you're right. I could, because yes, in theory, I could make all kinds of stuff and just never release it.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. There is a social aspect to it.
And you said, you know, the other thing you said too was like, you know, it leads to all these good things. But what are those good things? You know, is it just more work, or is it like for me, I like, you know, and I like work a lot, and I work with my friends and I work with my family, and I create work that builds like a little family for me.
Yeah.
And my favorite things is celebrating those things with those people I worked on it with, and being able to be like, look, even this like podcast, you know, like, look what we built. This is so cool. This is awesome. Let's work together again. But like, God, just to work for work's sake, or even worse yet, to work and grind just to survive that's hard. That's tough.
I do feel very fortunate to be in a position where I don't have to grind like paycheck to pay bills anymore.
Yeah.
And there was certainly a long period of my life where I was like that. I keep stepping on this cord.
Yeah.
Where I was like that. But anyway, yes, partially agree with you, partially don't.
Yeah.
But Columbus Day.
What should we call it?
What, Columbus Day?
Yeah.
That's a good question, man. Columbus is like, I know the the conservatives. I'll never forget that. I know the conservatives, like, this whole argument about like, well, they're destroying our culture by taking away Columbus Day, and he was a hero and he wasn't the monster they portray him as.
But yes, he was.
Yeah, well, by 2018 standards, he definitely was. By 1492 standards, he didn't fall that out of line with what a guy in his position would be doing. He was a slave owner.
Yeah.
He was bad at politicking and ruling. Like he was the governor of Hispaniola, and he was fucking terrible at it. But yeah, he was a great sailor.
But he like, yes, and you're right. And for 1492 standards, mass genocide is not really that frowned upon. But to be in a current society and look back and go, Yeah, you know,
Right.
it's like celebrating the blankets we gave to the Native Americans and being like, those
Smallpox.
blankets. Yeah, you know, it's like, it's. I think the problem is what else do you not celebrate anymore? You know what I mean? Like everything, like King Richard and like the Crusades and every major civilization was built upon some awful, horrific things.
True.
You know, so.
Well, okay, so let's give credit where credit's due. He was not the first like there were already humans if we talk about New World and Old World, there were already humans living in the New World, right?
Yes.
He wasn't the first to cross over. I mean, there's evidence that the Vikings did. The problem is they didn't really take anything and they didn't leave any significant culture.
Yeah.
It wasn't until Christopher Columbus crossed over that you had the Old and New Worlds meeting and culture crossing for the first time. And that is a massive shift in history.
Yeah, and it was also like political. He was backed by the Queen
of Spain.
And
Isabella and Ferdinand.
Yeah, and the general population knew, you know, more people knew it was going on. You know what I mean? It's like inventions are never really attributed to only one person. Usually it's a series of events that happen that like sort of land on one person's shoulders just based on what the historians write. And that's same thing happened with Columbus. Like lots of people were traveling at that time. So yeah. Yeah.
And this is also, you know, before anyone gets mad, they're taking our holidays away. This is what tends to happen. As a guy who studied history, as an expert. No, as a guy who studied history, this is what tends to happen with historical events. As you get more information, you start to look at the event differently. So think about after you watched Star Wars A New Hope, you have one, that's the very first Star Wars, not The Force Awakens.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So after damn it. After you watch A New Hope, you have an idea of who Darth Vader is, right?
Right.
After you get a longer timeline and you've seen the first trilogy and then the prequels, you have a different idea of who Darth Vader is. And that's what tends to happen with historical events. You feel one way about them at one point in history, and as the timeline gets longer, you give them more significance or you take more significance away. Yeah. And in this case, we're taking some of that significance away partly because of what he represents, slave ownership and genocide and some of these things.
Well, I mean, I don't understand. I just wouldn't go to bat for this one. There's so many other arguments. You know what I mean? Like,
no.
I do agree. Like, look, don't take our day off. Damn it, that sucks. Like, what company are you there? Like, you just take a day off for them. Call it. I do think they should call it Labor Day too.
Labor Day
Electric
Part 2,
Boogaloo.
the sequel.
The sequel.
That'd be great.
The sequel from the couch.
We do need more holiday. What should we celebrate in a holiday in the United States that isn't celebrated?
I think we should celebrate when the Cubs win the World Series.
Oh, gross. Gross.
No, I think we should celebrate. I don't know. It'd be cool to celebrate like when the first I don't know, woman becomes president, or like some, you know,
that'd be cool.
Something like that, or I don't know, cool stuff that everybody can agree on. You know what I mean? Like, I can't think what else. When they finally canceled Friends, I think everybody was happy about that.
Canceled Friends Day. You heard it here first.
Day,
Unfriended Day. We should be like a social media holiday. Or a no social media holiday.
Yeah, Blackout Day.
Yeah, that's interesting.
The opposite of Black Friday, Blackout Friday.
There you go.
Yeah.
White Friday.
Oh, boy.
Why it gotta be white?
Yeah.
Okay, you know what time it is.
Oh, my God.
Finally.
Here we are. We are covering stuff.
Indeed, we are
today.
covering
I've
things
gone through this whole thing of coffee
that exist. No, it's good. People like a long podcast.
Good.
People like a lot of length and a little girth.
Sex is like a podcast. They like a lot of length and a little bit of girth.
Way too long.
Yeah, not
and
too
too
long,
much talking.
Not too short.
Hey, all right. So this is the part of the show every week where we crown a king of influence who had the most positive influence, who had the most negative. So this week we have Trump in all of his tearing down Professor Ford. We have Conor McGregor and
Khabib. Nurmagomedov.
We have Shane Dawson and his documentary goodness.
Yeah.
We have Adam Saleh and his hate videos on Fouseytube about Fouseytube. We have Taylor Swift getting political, and of course we have Columbus Day, and it being slowly canceled little by little.
Who am I gonna give the king to? I mean, I think I'm queening it today. I'm gonna give it to Taylor Swift.
See, I'm queening it. I'm gonna give it to Shane.
Oh yeah, nice, nice.
Gay jokes.
Yeah, there you go.
Anyway, no. Sorry, go ahead.
No,
Explain.
I think I like it. I like to see someone have a positive, real effect on things, and it seems like 65,000 people registering to vote the day after you make a post is you should be proud of that. That's pretty cool.
Agreed.
Whichever way they're going to register, but that's pretty cool.
Agreed. I want to give it to Shane because I feel like he took the criticism he was getting like a professional and was like, all right, I'll consider this, and his content adjusted slightly, and I'm like, well, that's a mature way to handle it. Yeah. You looked at it and you go, okay, maybe this was a little too much. Maybe I'll lean in this direction.
Right.
I just think that's a mature thing to do. You don't see that a lot. I don't do that a lot.
Fair enough. Yeah. Good.
Okay. And then who's the jester?
I mean, Christ.
I'm giving that one to Trump.
Yeah. It has to be Trump.
You make fun of a sexual assault victim.
You can't do it, man. And don't back him, man. Don't laugh at it if you can. Like if you like him as a guy, as a president, whatever.
Totally agree.
But like you can still check your man. You know what I mean?
Yes. Check your boys.
Check your man, bro.
You're a true member of that tribe. If you can look at that tribe and be like, guys, this behavior is not us.
It's not cool.
That's not us.
Not cool.
And I'm not into it. Okay. So let's log off so Lloyd can go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
He's getting his antsy face on.
I'm good. No, I went before I went.
Oh, well, actually, let's sign off and have our talk, our digital meet and greet.
Yeah. Well, guys, thanks so much for watching today. We're back here every Wednesday.
Every single Wednesday at noon, California time.
Yep. We are Kings of Influence, youtube.com/Kings of Influence.
Smash that like button if you haven't smashed it already, and then smash the subscribe button, and then smash the bell, and then go home and smash your wife.
Hey, I'm Epic Lloyd.
I'm Ray William Johnson.
We'll see you guys next week.
Woo! Hey!